3 people just attacked a hostess at a very famous Italian restaurant in New York on the Upper West Side because the hostess asked to see their vaccine cards, asked for proof of vaccination. I don't think the restaurant wanted to do this. I've been to this restaurant on a number of occasions, and I think they're a good old restaurant, Carmine's, but the city is forcing them to. And so the hostess was complying with this stupid city ordinance, and these 3 people beat up the hostess. Now, if you watch CNN, if you read the New York Times, you know who were these 3 people? They were 3 white, male, Republican, probably Christian, Trump supporters, anti-vaxxer murderers who wouldn't show the vaccine proof so they don't get their bowl of spaghetti, right? So what are their names? Keita Nkinge Rankin, 44 years old, Tiani Cachet Rankin, 21, and Sally Rochelle Lewis, 49. They were arrested and charged with assault and criminal mischief. So those names, gosh, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to stereotype or... They sound a little more ethnically ambiguous than we were told about the white male Trump supporters, right? They don't sound male, that's for sure. No, it turns out they're 3 tourists, 3 black women who were visiting New York. They show up to the restaurant. They don't want to go along with the mandate. I think these women are from Texas, where you don't need to show proof of your Fauci-ouchie. So they must have been very surprised. Did you know that 80% of the grass-fed beef sold in the United States is actually imported from overseas? Sometimes they'll say it's from a local farm. It's from a local farm in South America somewhere. It's not from one here, which is why you got to check out the Good Ranchers. The Good Ranchers are helping out the American rancher. They're helping out the American consumer, and they are giving you top quality beef for unbelievable prices. So whatever you want, they have actually more than beef. They've got better than organic chicken, but me, I'm a little more of a beef guy. They got the T-bones, they got the fillets, they got the strips. They have, to my mind, basically the best burgers out there. They're gourmet, delicious burgers that are juicy that I've had within the past few weeks. Go check them out right now. You get steakhouse quality at a price every family can afford. Right now, if you go to goodranchers.com/Knowles, you can save $20. Or better yet, you can subscribe and save on each box of mouth-watering American meats that will show up right on schedule to your door. So right now, $20 off, free express shipping if you go to goodranchers.com/Knowles or use code Knowles at checkout. $20 off and free express shipping at goodranchers.com/Knowles. Now, a lawyer for the women. This is where the story gets complicated. Now a lawyer for the women is saying that the hostess used a racial slur. I don't believe that. I've been to Carmine's. I just don't think that's true. There's so many hoaxes that go on. I write about a lot of those hoaxes, race hoaxes, in my book, Speechless, which you can get. The worst thing you can be called in America is a racist. The worst offense you can possibly commit is to utter the N-word. And so the lawyer is saying that. I don't think there's any evidence. The restaurant is vigorously denying that. Now, BLM is showing up and saying they're going to protest not just Carmine's for the hostess's alleged behavior that I am fairly certain did not take place, but they're also going to protest the city's vaccine mandate, which they say is a way to keep black people out of places. Because, contrary to CNN reports, black people disproportionately are not getting the vaccine. And so they want to blame everything on white males, because white males are the worst creatures in the history of the world, and everything they do is terrible. But because they're trying to blame this, they're trying to discourage this behavior, they don't want to acknowledge that a lot of black people are engaging in the same kind of behavior, namely not wanting to get the Fauci-ouchie right away. So this is a very this might be the most complex political story of all time. Because the first part of the story, 3 women refused to go along with a vaccine mandate. Love that. Love that. Refused to show their papers at the restaurant. Love that. Man, that's great. Kudos to them. Next part of the story, they beat up the hostess. Well, that's bad. We don't like that. Don't beat up the hostess, okay? Especially at Carmine's, because it's a nice restaurant. Hate that. Next part of the story, they're accusing this hostess now of using a racial slur. Almost certainly didn't happen. Really hate that. That's ugly racial politics. Fourth part of the story, BLM shows up. Now I really hate that, because they're going to go loot all the spaghetti, just like the BLM arsonists and terrorists looted city after city and burned down police buildings and courthouses. Really hate that. But then the final part of the story, BLM is opposing the mask mandate citywide. I like that. Am I on the side of BLM now? I guess in this regard, I sort of am. Politics makes for strange bedfellows. This, to me, is the most interesting part of this whole story. It's the only reason why this is news, as far as I'm concerned. It's not because of the typical racial politics that you always hear about. It's not. That, to me, is the least interesting part of the story. What's interesting here is not the race aspect, it's the COVID aspect. This COVIDistan, this new COVIDistan country that we're all living in, is realigning a lot of politics, at least temporarily, and maybe it'll have more of a permanent effect. The people who are opposed to the COVID public health dictatorship are not just white male Trump supporters, they're young black women. We were told that's not possible. The people who are opposed to the mask mandates are some radical leftists, actually, too. The people who do not like the way that our government is being run, it doesn't break down just on party lines or even ideological lines. It's a little bit more us versus them. It's a little bit more the people versus the ruling class. It's a little bit more the people who thought we were living in a constitutional republic versus increasingly the oligarchy. Would you know an oligarchy if you saw one? And so everyone, when they're talking about this Carmine story, and it is going to crop up on TV, you're only going to hear people talking about the racial aspect. Don't take the bait. Don't fall for that. The interesting aspect is what impelled these women to lose their temper and, start, punching people in the first place. And what then impelled the racial politics, because that's the only way you can talk about it, because you're not allowed to talk about the public health dictatorship. I'm so glad you enjoyed that clip. If you like that, oh baby, the best is yet to come. You got to check out the whole episode. You can get that here on YouTube, and you can comment and subscribe. You can also get it at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Head on over there, type in The Michael Knowles Show, subscribe. You will never miss an episode. I would greatly appreciate it. We'll see you next time.